if you're having knee pain on leg day, it's coming down to these 4 reasons. First one is doing exercises that are too advanced for you. You see this a ton in people who may have been very active when they were younger, or a little bit more recently, maybe you used to work out consistently and life got crazy. Your business started becoming more busy, more demanding. Maybe you became a caregiver for your parents, so you don't have as much time as you used to, and you kind of let your health and fitness get put on the back burner, right? So now that you have more time, or you're ready to get back into things for whatever reason, you are looking for something that may be a little bit more convenient for you to do, that holds you accountable. So you get a trainer, you sign up for a boot camp class, or you go to the gym and work out independently, right? And because you're somebody who worked out and was active or athlete in the past, you still have the identity of somebody who was in shape, no matter how you look, right? Or how out of shape you really may be. It doesn't matter if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you still have that identity. So when you go to the gym, you start with the exercises that are familiar to you. And a lot of times, these exercises that you were able to do with ease, you can no longer do anymore. You have to build back up to it. But people don't think like this. They just jump right into what they know, because that's what humans do. And now your knee hurts. You haven't squatted in years. You haven't jumped in years. You haven't ran since college or high school. And because that's the only form of exercise or way to exercise that you know how to do, that's what you end up doing, and you end up getting hurt. Not because that exercise is bad, but more so because it's too advanced for you and your body is not ready for that yet. So that's the first reason. And in order to combat this and prevent this from happening, what we should do is start with exercises that are appropriate for our current fitness level. So instead of doing a ton of forward lunges and walking lunges and trying to jump into Bulgarian split squats, do something that's more regress. Instead of a Bulgarian split squat, do a regular split squat. Instead of doing any type of split squat, start with squats. Start with machine work, with lower skill level free weight exercises. These are all things that you can do instead of just jumping right into the hardest form of exercise just because that's what you think your body can do. Second reason is thinking rest kills all. And I'm going to cut you guys a little bit of slack. I know a lot of this comes from medical providers that you may have consulted with or talked to, and you have an injury or you're feeling some pain and they tell you, oh, just rest until it feels better. And because of this, it ends up making your pain worse, because what we don't realize is when we rest, our body just gets weaker over time. So if you go to the gym and you have knee pain when you squat or lunge, or you have back pain when you do a deadlift, and you're like, oh, I'm going to take the whole week off, and that week turns into like 6 weeks because every time you try to do it, it becomes painful again. What you're going to notice is every time you try to do that, it's still going to be painful, because week after week, when you're taking time off or resting until it feels better, your body is losing capacity. So the way I like to explain this is, think of your body as a gas tank. The gas tank in your car has a certain number of miles it can go until it completely clonks out, right? Your body is the same way. Injuries and pain happen when you exceed whatever threshold or whatever mileage your body's gas tank has. So if you are somebody who can withstand 100 miles of exercise because your gas tank has that much inside of it, as soon as you ask it to do anything that exceeds that, you're going to notice pain, you're going to notice aches, and you're going to get injured. So when you're resting, that 100 turns into 90, it turns into 80, it turns into 70, and it keeps going down the longer you rest. So in order to prevent that from happening, you have to continue to train. And no, I'm not saying go push through painful squats and push through painful lunges and just push through everything, no pain, no gain. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is you have to find ways to continue to train your fitness level while you are getting an area better. And in order to get an area better, most of the time it does not require rest. Rest is needed in very specific situations, and that is not the majority of pain that you are seeing or experiencing in the gym. Rest is important when you have a very traumatic injury. Maybe you've broken a bone. Maybe you just had surgery. That requires rest of the actual area. But even in those cases, we are still training all other body parts, because the gas tank analogy, if you have 100 miles at a healthy, uninjured state, if you're injured and in pain and you're not doing anything, it's just going to keep going down. And then when you try to go back to your activity, you're going to get hurt because you don't have the same mileage, the same capacity as you did before. This is why in a rehab setting, if you think of professional athletes or anybody who has been an athlete, if you get hurt when you go to physical therapy, if you go to a good physical therapist, I know there's a lot of shitty ass PTs out there, but we'll talk about that. If you go to a good physical therapist, if you're there for your knee and you can't do anything with your knee, you're still going to be doing things with your hip. You're still going to be doing things with your arm. You're still going to be training your cardiovascular system in some way, shape, or form in order to keep your fitness level up, because at some point you are going to return back to your sport or return back to your activity. And if you can maintain that fitness level now, it's going to be a lot easier in the long run, as opposed to sitting on your ass saying, hey, I'm hurt, I can't do anything, and trying to get back into shape later. So that's the idea of not taking rest or not using rest as a solution and thinking you're going to magically get better if you take time off, because if you don't use it, you lose it, and that applies across the board. So if you're dealing with knee pain or any type of pain when you're in the gym, rest is likely not going to heal it, because your body just gets weaker and less capable as you're resting. So that's something to keep in mind. Third thing is blaming your form. Blaming your form may sound like a stupid reason why your knees hurt, but it's actually a reason why people experience pain, because they'll do an exercise, and I see this a lot in Facebook groups. They're like, oh, I did squats or RDLs and I'm not sure why, but my knee hurt. And in the comments, people are like, oh, check your form, check your form. And then I'm always like, hey, maybe you should post a video to actually see what's going on. And most of the time when you watch it and you assess how people move, their form isn't bad, right? And also, people highly overestimate the role of bad form in injuries. And what I mean by that is, just because you have bad form does not necessarily mean you're going to get hurt unless you're loading it up really, really heavy, right? And also, the body is very adaptable. Think of how many times throughout your day you bend over and you pick something up with horrible form. Or you bend over and pick something up with good form and your back hurts. Or the times where you bend over and pick something up with bad form and nothing happens. Like, we're putting ourselves and our bodies through so many different positions on a day-to-day basis that aren't ideal, that don't look like good form. And that just shows you that the body is very resilient and is going to adapt to whatever positions we train in. So now, with that being said, I'm not saying, hey, go squat with bad form. What I am saying is, it's likely not your form that's causing your pain. It's likely how you're loading that movement. It's likely other aspects of your program. People may do, say, hip thrust at the beginning of their session. I hate hip thrust, by the way. I hate that exercise. But people may do hip thrust at the beginning of their session, then follow it with Bulgarians, and then do leg press, and then do something else at the end, right? And then the exercise at the end hurts and they're like, oh my God, this exercise is bad for me. Maybe I had bad form, blah, 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 right? But what they don't realize is it could actually just be the load that you accumulated and the amount of activity you accumulated throughout that workout. And that's why your knees are hurting. It's not because you had bad form on that movement. So these are silly things that people may not necessarily think about, but it does truly play a role in why you may be experiencing pain when you work out. And then the third one with knee pain is, what is that on my leg? My bad. I don't even know what the three was, but fourth, I think I'm on the fourth one. Fourth one is having a program that avoids anything that stresses your knee. So I see this a ton in people that come into physical therapy and they're like, oh, my knees hurt. Actually, currently I have a client who his knees hurt every time that he goes to clean up his cat litter or feed his cats. And I'm going to actually show you guys what he does once I get next to a pole. I asked him to show me how he feeds his cats. And he said this. He said they're there and he just does this. Like he squats and he does this to feed his cats. All right. So he's like this, knees over toes. Knees over toes is not bad, but when you compare that to the type of things that he does in his program, the only time he does knees over toes is when he does that specific action of cleaning his cat litter or feeding his cats. In his program, he avoids knees over toes at all costs. He does not do any squatting. He doesn't do any type of lunge. He strictly does cardio, the bike, the elliptical, and glute work. And this is a perfect example to share with you guys because if you're having knee pain in a specific movement in your day and you're not also training that in the gym, you're having that pain because you don't really do it often, or you do it really often and your body isn't ready for it. So for him, he's feeding his cat. He's fucking obsessed with cats. He's feeding his cats and petting his cats, outside cats, indoor cats, all the time. And he's like, damn, my knees hurt. And I'm like, yeah, you're doing something that your body isn't necessarily ready for. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you ready for it. So in your program, you need to have things that prepare you for knees over toes. No, we're not going to go into the gym in our session and just hammer away at knees over toes. But we are going to get you comfortable with that position because if you don't do it in the gym, that's fine, but you're still going to do it in your daily life and you can't avoid that. So a lot of people are experiencing pain because they are avoiding things that they just need to get better at. So when you notice you have pain with squats and lunges and you take them out of your program and you're like, hey, I took them out, my knees feel better. That's not a flex. Your knees feel better, not because they're getting better, but because you literally removed the exact thing you actually should be exposing your knees to. So it's so interesting to me when people say these things and I'm like, that's not good. Like, sure, your knees could feel better in the gym because you're not squatting or lunging, but what happens when you actually need to do those things in your life? Your knees are going to feel like shit. So you probably shouldn't take them out. So I share that to say, if you're somebody who has been feeling like deep down inside, you know you've been avoiding shit you shouldn't really avoid. You've been avoiding exercises that you know are really good for you, but you're not sure how to incorporate them into your routine without doing something to make it worse. If you're somebody who just wants to get stronger on lower body lifts, but every time you're trying to push, your knee bothers you. If you're somebody who had a knee surgery, whether it's an ACL reconstruction, meniscus repair, if you had an MPFL reconstruction, if you had a total knee replacement and you went to therapy, but you never actually got back to lifting weights and you need to know what to start with, I just created a free knee pain screen that asks you 3 questions. And based on those 3 questions, it gives you things you should do based on those questions you answered about your knee. If you want access to it, just comment screen. I'll send it to you. It'll tell you what to do in less than 2 minutes, and you'll have a clear plan on exactly what to do regarding your knees in your next session. So if you want that, comment screen, I'll send it to you. It's free. I literally just created it. It's so dope, and it works a lot better than anything you could ask online, anything you could ask ChatGPT, anything you can see on Instagram. So comment screen, and I'll send it to you. With that being said, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.